Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I'm going to be bringing you my July TBR. So I am not a huge summer girly, but July is still one of my favorite months of the year because it is my birthday month. I get to go book shopping. So that still makes it a pretty cool month in my book. Also, it's the time of year that I just start looking forward to fall and then the holidays because that really is my favorite time of the year. Here in North Carolina, July and August are just basically unbearably hot. I spend a lot of time actually indoors reading. I have a pretty large July TBR. I don't know if I'm going to stick to it, especially with birthday book shopping, but we'll see what happens. I have a lot of books I want to get to. June has been crazy. I have read so many books already, and I'm hoping for another big reading month. I am in a romance mood. All I'm really wanting to read is romance and cozy fantasy, cozy mystery, things with HEAs, happily ever afters, and just good all-around vibes. I actually read quite a bit of historical romance, and I'm still in a historical romance mood, so I definitely have a few of those on my TBR as well. If you like fantasy romance, historical romance, or cozy fantasy, definitely stick around and watch my TBR. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you do so. Don't forget to click the like button and comment down below and let me know about your July reading plans. All of my social media is linked down below in the description, including my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as the link to me and Maggie's new Discord, which we just announced, the Hideaway, that is down in the description as well. And with all of that out of the way, let's just get into this TBR. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with my required reads, buddy reads, that kind of thing, and then we'll get into everything else. So the first reads I have on my TBR are Rejection and Possession by Kay Lorraine and Meg Ann. This is for the read-along that Maggie is hosting. We've been talking about it on our Discord, The Hideaway, but she's also hosting live reading sprints. The first reading sprints are going to be this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll all be reading the first book in the series, Obsession. This series is a Why Choose a Fantasy Romance series about a heroine who has rejected her mate, and then she goes to this school for supernatural beings, and she meets these guys that have these different magical abilities, and things get spicy from there. I don't know much else about this series, but I'm very excited because Maggie has talked repeatedly about what an amazing series it is and how excited she is to get everybody to read this book and love it as much as she does. So I'm hoping that I do. So yeah, we'll be reading those two books in July. I also have a buddy read planned with my good friend April. I'll have her channel linked down below as well. And we're going to be reading Thieves and Monsters by Cleo Evans. I don't know much about this book other than it's like a Cerberus, but it's actually three guys, but when they transform into their beast form, they become one Cerberus, so one giant mean dog with three heads. I have never heard anything like this before. This is a totally unique monster romance, and I've seen a lot of hype on Instagram about this as well. I'm very excited to read it. The second book in the series either just came out or is about to come out, and it looks crazy too. I am also planning on taking part in the Summer of Tessa or the Castles Ever After segment of this read-along. And this is hosted by a whole bunch of amazing booktubers. I'll have them all linked down below with all the information for the read-along, but they are basically going through Tessa Dare's backlist and reading a certain number of books every month. And I just read the first Castles Ever After by Tessa Dare. It was amazing, so I'm planning on reading the second book soon because I believe the live show is going to be on Mama Needs to Read Romance's channel on the 2nd. I could be wrong, but that's coming up soon, so I definitely need to read the second book in the series. But in July, I'm going to be reading the third and the fourth book in the series, so that is When a Scot Ties a Knot and Do You Want to Start a Scandal. So these are the third and fourth books in the Castles Ever After series by Tessa Dare, like I said, and so far I've loved it. I adored the first book in the series, and I'll be talking about that actually coming up on a special video that I'll have out later. I'm not sure when that's coming, but we'll just have to see. Anyway, I adored it. I'm looking forward to continuing on in this series and reading it with a bunch of amazing romance booktubers. They're all super sweet and it's going to be a good time. Continuing on in the realm of historical romance, I also want to read Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. I read the first book in this series, the Wallflower series, Secrets of a Summer Night, and I adored it. I loved it so much. I just thought the hero was totally swoony, and I've heard that this is so many people's favorite Lisa Kleypas book. This is technically a prequel to the Wallflower series, so I wanted to go back and read this before I read, I can't remember what it's called, like the autumn book, but each book in the series takes place during a certain season, so there's the summer, autumn, winter, and spring books. But like I said, Again the Magic is the prequel to this series. I did order it and it's been shipped. It's on its way. So I will be picking that up definitely as soon as I can. It's also going to be on Script starting on July 2nd. So I'll be able to listen to the audiobook. So the last historical romance that I'm planning on reading is Karen Moening's Beyond the Highland Mist. This is actually technically a historical fantasy romance, I believe, because I think this is very Midsummer Night's Dream-esque. There are mischievous fae interfering with these historical figures. But we basically have this laird who is known as Hawk, and he's apparently supposed to be quite the woman pleaser. And it says no woman can refuse his touch. This is a Scottish Highlander romance, and it's also a time travel romance. So our heroine actually comes from modern day, or modern day when this book was written. They end up getting together and it's supposed to be very good. I've heard wonderful things about this whole series. I do own the first 3 books in the series and I've really had a hankering for some Scottish romance. So I think this is going to be a good time to pick this one up. In terms of fantasy, I would really like to finish out this duology. This is the Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. This is the follow-up to Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I really enjoyed. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't an all-time favorite, but it was just an enjoyable read, and I'd like to finish out this duology. Also, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I love these covers. They're just probably some of the prettiest covers I've ever seen on a fantasy book. So I'd like to finish this out. I'd like to know what happens. There's a little bit of a love triangle in this series too. It's very fantasy romance-esque and it definitely reads YA, though it is an adult fantasy. I do want to find out what happens with this. It's a Chinese mythology retelling, and we have our Daughter of the Moon Goddess. The Emperor and the Empress are not supposed to know about her, and one day she basically has to leave the moon, and she ends up basically right under the nose of the people she's supposed to be avoiding. It was a very fun first book, and I'd like to know how this series concludes. Okay, so for fantasy romance, I do have a couple books I really want to try out. I've been noticing I'm having trouble with wanting to continue fantasy romance series. It's like I'm enjoying the first book, but there's so few fantasy romance series that I really want to continue on with. So I'm very much like right now just trying to try out different series to see which ones really grab me to continue on. And then once all the books are out in that series, I can actually just binge them, like reread the first one and then binge. So that's kind of my plan when it comes to fantasy romance. I just have so many books and series that I'm technically in the middle of, but without the actual desire to know what happens next, if that makes sense. Some of them just seem so formulaic that I lose interest in continuing with the series. But I love fantasy romance. I just feel like the genre in its growth, it has grown so fast, but has become quite formulaic very quickly. So I want to see if anyone's doing anything unique. I want to try a few different things. So the first one is this series that I've seen a lot on Kindle Unlimited. It's Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha Tooley. I believe this is like The Bachelor meets like Hunger Games. So everyone is fighting for the hand of either the prince or the king. I'm not sure. And obviously our heroine ends up entering this competition and fantasy romance ensues from there. The idea of Bachelor meeting Hunger Games is very intriguing to me. Not to mention the cover is very unique, and I like that it doesn't have as much of a formulaic title as well, so I do want to try this one out in July. Also, I feel like July is like the sun month. So reading like Heart of the Sun Warrior and Trial of the Sun King, those both kind of really make sense to me to read in July. I'd also like to catch up on reading Kennedy's Plated Prisoner series. So I've read the first 3 in the series. So I'd like to read Glow. I think the final book in the series, Gold, comes out in December. So I'd like to read Glow. If I don't get to it in July, then probably August I would like to. I'm thinking July would be a good month, and it'd be nice to really be up to date on this series. So the Plated Prisoner series is a King Midas retelling. Our main character has been gold touched, and she's basically King Midas's pet. Every part of her is gold, I think, except for the whites of her eyes and maybe her teeth. She's very, very content just being his prisoner. She thinks that they're in a relationship. He really has her fully manipulated. He just fully controls her and has her brainwashed. And it's kind of sad to see. But it's really fun to watch her character grow throughout the series and how strong she becomes. And I've really loved it. And I'm very, very much looking forward to finding out what happens in Glow, because Gleam just really ended on a cliffhanger. I'm also feeling like a cozy mood. So I was also thinking about reading this cozy fantasy mystery with witches. It's in the Company of Witches. And if I like it, I can read this cozy mystery series. It's an Evan Fall Witches B&B mystery. This cover is absolutely stunning. I adore it. And I'm hoping it gives really, really good witchy vibes. I guess we'll have to wait to see what happens. Another cozy that I might pick up is You Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is supposed to be a sapphic cozy fantasy. I think there may be a small mystery element in it as well. And I've heard nothing but wonderful things about this series. I think it takes place in a tea house, and I hear it's very cozy and sweet. And it has really fantastical cozy vibes. There's a sapphic romance in it, and that's really all I know about the series. As you guys know, I tend not to like to know too much when I go into a new book or a new series. So I've also really been enjoying alien romance recently. I just read the third Ice Planet Barbarians book by Ruby Dixon, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I may continue on and read the 4th book in that series. I don't know what it's called, but I'll pop it up right here. But yeah, the 4th book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This is about a group of human women who are kidnapped by these really awful, disgusting aliens, and then they are crash landed on this planet where they end up all basically being fated mates to this other type of alien that is inhabiting this planet. And it's kind of like a, not homesteady, but basically they're learning to survive, and they are making their lives here with this other alien species, and each book follows a different couple. So I just read Zool by A.G. Wilde, which is the first book in the Captured by Aliens series, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really sweet, really well done. I liked that it was like a survival, forced proximity, a romance, and I think that every book in the series is. So I'd really like to read Crux, which is the 2nd book in the series, or is it Cracks? Cracks, I believe. And yeah, that's the 2nd book in the series, and basically each book follows a different couple. There are these human women who have been abducted, and they are on this space station being kept basically in this display. And they're treated awfully. A lot of trigger warnings in the series, so make sure you check them. Definitely trigger warnings for basically everything. I don't know. There are these undercover aliens, this undercover group of guys that end up helping the girls escape. Like not purposely, but it like becomes part of what happens. And they end up each being stuck with one of the girls during their plan to take down this alien species that's abducting alien races from like all around the galaxy. In the first book, they crash land on this planet, and I believe it's the same storyline for each book, but just with a different couple. So crash landing on this same planet and having to survive to get to their location to continue on with their plan for taking down this alien spacecraft. And so, like I said, it's a survival, travel, close proximity romance, which I really, really adore those tropes. And I thought that the first one was done really well. There's caretaking. There is just a really sweet hero that's like a secret cinnamon roll, really gruff on the outside. There's also a lot of action, and I just had a good time with it. It was pretty short, just a fun read. So I'd like to continue on with this series as well. Okay, that is that. A very ambitious July TBR/MBR, because I don't know if I will read all these books. I will probably read more than them unless I hit a slump. We shall see. I have been reading a lot lately. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll have to wait and find out. But these are definitely the books that are currently on my radar that I think I would like to pick up in July. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button and comment down below. Let me know what your reading plans for July are, and let me know which books that you think I should be prioritizing in July. All of my social media is linked down below in the description, including my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
Look away, but I've known you too long. It hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.